Like I'll give you higher FSI and you give so many weaker section houses to me.
Yeah.
In Maharashtra, for example, they're given higher FSI. In lieu of that, the builder has to give something like 20-25% of the built-up area free of cost to the municipal body. So maybe somewhere or the other it is being done, but not very systematic.
You know, in Maharashtra, we had one of their very senior officials talk at one of our seminars, where the point he made was that because land is scarce, in Mumbai, for example, you have a market in land and you can have TDRs, but you know, it has to be done within the overall framework of planning. Otherwise, you know, you will have spikes here and there, and it just kind of cuts into your idea of what you want as planned urbanization. But in Delhi, I don't think they are doing this TDR, or it's just they're saying, okay, we regularize this, or we make, we give you higher FSI, and the question is, you know, the beneficiaries of these higher FSI must pay a price. I mean, that should be tapped. So this unlocking land value is really extremely important when you have need for infrastructure development. The other point that we brought out in the report, which I'm sure to people like yourselves, operational people, is very obvious, but somehow those who study this normally don't highlight that, and that is that, it's no good saying that you give the right tax concession or on municipal bonds or create a capital market and make enabling environment so that urban local bodies can tap the capital market either for borrowing or through PPP, VGF or whatever, because neither of these, neither PPP nor the bonds are going to come your way unless there is a revenue model. I mean, it's all right to say that I can't cover my costs through user charge today. I need 5 years, I need 7 years to get there. But unless, if I'm going to lend money to you by buying your municipal bond, I need to recover that money, and therefore I need to know that you have a plan, and maybe not today, but 2 years, 3 years on, there is a stream that enables me to, and that's why, this escrowing thing can take care of limited parts, but unless you look at revenue generation, the total revenue and expenditure, you can't really address the financing issues. But once you get into this question of user charges or generating revenue, then you are straight into the realm of governance and picking up the slack, improving efficiency, cutting wasteful expenditures, cutting corruption, and ultimately we felt that even though we are talking about these 39 lakh crore, when all is said and done, we are really talking about 0.25% of GDP, And as I always tell my friends who work on macroeconomic issues, that you are, 1% of GDP is being lost in power distribution losses, yeah? And look at the your petroleum subsidy, fertilizer subsidy. I mean, even if you leave food subsidy aside, these other subsidies, when you look at them, and when you look at the importance of livable cities, because cities are going to be the engines of growth, then, this really comes at the very center of, So this is what we had done. Then we have detailed recommendations. Let me just mention two. One, we felt very strongly that there should be a municipal cadre. Because we found that in Bihar, for example, DFID had a project. And they did capacity building to improve the accrual-based accounting knowledge and practice of the urban local body officials. And then 3 years later, they came back to see, what impact they had. All of them had been transferred. And when they talked to the state government said, but we have greater use for accrual-based finances in such and such department than in urban local bodies. So that's when, that's how we feel that if you have a cadre, then when you build capacity, it stays within the sector. I was in Coimbatore 2 days ago. In fact, my column tomorrow is going to be on solid waste management in Coimbatore. And I was there with an assistant executive engineer who has been with the corporation for 20 years. And I was so impressed with his understanding. He's a mechanical engineer, but he could have been an environmental engineer. I learned so much, and I was so impressed with the way he looked at the sector. Now, this is, you do get random cases of people who are really committed and learn on the job and do very well. But how do you make a system out of it? So I think the cadre is very important. And second thing we found, which was very important, was the state government providing an enabling environment. Now, this is actually less relevant for Delhi because it's a city-state. But in Tamil Nadu, the fact that you had Tamil Nadu Urban Development Fund, in Karnataka, even in Andhra, who have gone along the same path in building financial intermediary institutions, collectorates which are, looking at the municipal ULBs all through the state, collecting information, doing performance comparison, putting competitive pressure, moral suasion, and also helping them with public-private partnerships. In some cases, bringing some municipalities together to get the right scale in addressing whether it's a wastewater treatment challenge or solid waste management. So,
in Tamil Nadu, 10 towns together into the bonds.
Yes, yeah. So, those are really the kinds of governance challenges that, we have referred to. But I have to say that this was a first cut. There was very little information available on the urban sector in India. So all we did was we put together whatever we could lay our hands on. And now, even 2 years down the road, we can ourselves see that there is so much more to learn. And that's where, when I go to the state government, when my team goes to the state government, with every state visit, we develop better perspective on, how, of course, there is no single model, but how you could have different models for different kinds of, situations. So with that, I think let me really turn the table back to you, and I'll hand it over to Minu to seek out what you think we should be focusing on. Just one thing I had left, let me just say one sentence, is that we did not emphasize public transport enough in our, and I think today I would say that yes, the public transport land use planning together is very, very important, and particularly in the NCR region. So what kind of questions we should ask. And the other thing which comes out very vividly as we look at more case studies is that even though water and sanitation, has on both water and wastewater treatment and solid waste, which are really becoming increasingly urgent. And in the NCR, the epidemics that we keep seeing, so the whole public health perspective on how to look at urbanization. So with that in mind, both public transport, public health, and housing, affordable housing. I think if you can give us some direction on how we should go about studying the challenges of urbanization in the NCR, that would be very helpful. Thank you, Dr. Ahluwalia. That was, thank you, Tanushree.
That was a brief but quite interesting introduction to all the key points that the HPEC report provided insights on. And here in your handout there are these recommendations. And I'd like to take up what Dr. Ahluwalia suggested and turn to yourselves who've been dealing with some of these things on the ground, both in terms of research as well as in terms of operationalizing projects that you've handled through HUDCO and through the other organizations to give us a set of examples or concrete attempts, cases, insights about these things that Dr. Ahluwalia laid out, both in terms of the sequencing of reform, the kinds of reforms that you think have worked, what are the conditions under which they worked, because obviously one size doesn't fit all, and specifically in the area of municipal finance, public transportation, the combining of transportation with land use. What are some of the innovations that are going on the ground that you are aware of, that if we were to study Delhi or sort of do some of the work that the HPC has done for states and for a complex place like the NCR, what should we be looking at? So I'd like to open it up for discussion now.
One of the benefits we got recently is about 5,000 crore bonds, which has, maybe the kind of hype which has been created, your meetings with the finance ministry, and they were kind enough to give us tax-free bonds to raise about 5,000 crores, and the response was quite good. And our chairman has decided to extend the date till 22nd, and we hope to get benefit of, tax-free bonds, which we would like to pass it on to our ULBs by reducing our lending rates. So that's one thing which we wanted to, and associated with that, the next level could be the successful urban local bodies themselves can raise, like the way Professor he was telling about the bonds, municipal bonds. Only very few examples like Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation and the Vijayawada, they only have raised, and I'm sure they can also raise, unlocking the land bank and so on and so forth. The other point which you have confessed about the spatial linkage, we are also trying to take lead in this, and we are trying to invest about 12%, take 12% interest equity in DMICDC, Delhi Mumbai Infrastructure Corridor, and our chairman will talk about it. That has a spatial functional integration at a regional level and also the urban level, which will probably somewhere you can address. There's not just spatial linkage, you're already required to look at the functional linkage of it. So we have taken lead in making inroads into this sector also by associating ourselves with the DMIC's work on the Delhi Mumbai Infrastructure Corridor. The other point I just wanted to mention is, yes, I was just about to talk about you're spending so much on your investment you proposed on our roads, but it is at a national level. So obviously the amount of investment that is required.
This is
At national level for urban. So that's, I think, you cannot avoid, because that is unless you have the network in place, the economy cannot run, and all these urban centers cannot be connected, and flow of goods and flow of services cannot take place. So, to that extent, but this 24%, which is our core area, because we are interested in the infrastructure, water supply, sanitation, drainage, solid waste, which we are talking about. And even Dr. Sam Petroda yesterday, he was emphasizing and even requested us to constitute a small group which would look into the garbage disposal, solid waste, and so on and so forth. These are some of the issues which had to be dealt at the local level. So financing and mobilizing the resources, through the municipal bonds and that kind of thing is the next step which would address some of these issues, I think. Yeah.
Well, if you do something, if you do constitute a group at the solid waste level, please keep us informed. Because that is an area that we are
we will
very,
associate that working group.
Yeah, actually, I am myself. I'll tell you why. Because this is an area where there is really a tremendous scope for public-private partnership. And whether you look at the community-based Pammal model, or you look at the Rajkot, which was the first, these Hanjer people came and did their waste processing. Now, increasingly in Pune, they've combined the biomethanation decentralized plants, and they have this waste to energy, the synthetic gas thing. And I was so heartened the other day to hear from the Assam Chief Minister, who said to me that I read your column, I went to Pune, And now we are setting up decentralized biomethanation plants in Assam. And he's actually invited our team to go to Assam. And I spent one full day in Coimbatore and saw that unlike most other cities which have started from collection, the Supreme Court had said collection of segregated waste and then transportation, then secondary transportation, then processing and disposal. Most of them started with collection and transportation, didn't pay that much attention to segregation. This model is different because in Coimbatore they started at the processing and disposal end, because they said they had these 4 dump sites which were several meters high, and they decided that they'll go for a JNNURM project. It cost them 96 crores to actually cap them. And they had been sitting there for so long that even the gas had gone. So they can't even get carbon credit, but they've sort of, capped 2 of these, and one which they are doing, they will get some carbon credit because they're able to capture methane gas. So, there are different models, and there aren't all that many. There are maybe 5 or 6 models, and the ministry had a seminar last week, which I had chaired on solid waste management, because when they asked me, I told them, yes, I want to chair the solid waste section because I'm interested in learning. That's how I learnt about Coimbatore and went there, and I'm writing about them. But I think there is tremendous scope for commercial sort of presence there. So that's where I think we'd be very happy to do a paper for you, combining what we know, and if you can use your resources to find out more on what's going on in terms of practices, not just best practices, because in some places it has not worked well, then you could really set up a model. And I think Sam Petroda is absolutely right. If I had to choose one sector today, I would choose solid waste management. Sorry?
That can be a good product for us to finance,
Yeah.
As an outcome of this.
Yeah.
Solid waste thing, if we are willing to finance in a big way, and maybe a small group can work, we are planning to constitute and work on it,
Yeah.
and come out with some product.
But you see, then you have the case of Punjab, where they've divided. That is actually the right way to go. But Punjab never has the political will to see through it. I got a paper from the Deputy Chief Minister on, how they've divided the whole Punjab into 8 clusters. So now they're trying to develop regional waste processing and disposal facilities. That's a fantastic idea. I even went to see one of he didn't think that I would go. And within 2 days of reading this note, I was actually going for a convocation to Jalandhar at a university there. And this one of the facilities was half an hour away from there. So I made them take me there in the 1 hour that I had. And what I saw was so disappointing. In principle, it was supposed to be done, but the plant was not working, and then I learned more about it through other sources. So I think different people are starting and halting. So if we can put it all together, maybe we can develop a model which can be then financed by HUDCO, and I think that will be a tremendous contribution.
I have 2 suggestions on your report and how it can be disseminated to city level. I don't know how many officers have come from Municipal Corporation of Delhi.
There was one officer who came who just left because he had to get a commitment. And yourself?
Yeah, you're from?
No?
I'm not from that.
Okay. I don't know if a city level report on requirement of funds is available, ma'am. I don't know if the committee must have had a look at the global level, at the national level. If, I don't know if it is part of your mandate, if you can tell or inspire the city level planners and developers to think of 20 years ahead. At national level, we have the figures, 40 lakh crore, but
So
at city
are you
level
suggesting
is to develop a city-specific development plan or same requirement of funds for each city, like we are doing now for Ajmer and Gwalior. If you can also think of, you are going to Chennai now, or I think Bangalore and other places, if you can help them prepare a city level development plan for 20 years. Usually they have for 10 years, 5 years like that. 20-year plan up to 2031. What would be their requirement? That is one. And maybe they can think of making use of one of the national institutes to prepare this. If you can do it, it's fine. Otherwise, say in Chennai, it could be IIT Chennai, or in Delhi, along with you, maybe SPA. Somebody, some institute or the other can help them prepare, or some IIM can help them prepare the plan, so that we know the requirement of each of the cities. So it's a disaggregated requirement of funds and how they are going to meet. Maybe in that you can use all the recommendations of this HPEC and say that yes, the requirement may be, okay, for a city it may be 2,000 crores or 5,000 crores. Don't be scared of the figures. It is still possible to raise the resources. These are the ways of doing it. Maybe there could be a small think tank within the organization, within the municipal body, to raise the resources. That is one idea.
Do you think a state level report would not do the job?
Ma'am, that will really help the state level planners.
Yeah.
State Urban Development Secretary and also Chief Minister, Urban Development Minister, Commissioners, yes. But again at the state level, unless state level also goes down to the city level and prepares it. Suppose they have the disaggregated figures of, say, Karnataka has got 225 ULBs. Suppose they have the figures of what 225, it's fine. But to begin with, the state level is fine, a macro picture. But again, we have to go down and find out the requirement of each of the cities. That is a must. Maybe we can sponsor some of the studies if you feel that you can do it.
I'm going to connect you with someone who has been, they've done, Nachiket Moore from the ICICI Foundation. Nachiket Moore has been working in the Tanjore area, and there is this man called Anand Sahasranamam who was working with IFMR. And I'm going to actually ask him to take an appointment with HUDCO, come and show you, because he has done just this for a small town near Tanjore. And he was coming to me and saying, we've gone this far now, tell me how we can go forward. And
if he has got a template,
yes,
maybe that
then
can be
used.
Yeah.
So we will use Anand, and I'll invite him to ICRIER. We'll bring him to HUDCO, and we'll get him to do a seminar, so we can see what they have done. I think that's exactly what you are saying, what they're trying to do. So that would be a very good thing.
If there's an expansion of this activity at HUDCO, suppose you take maybe another 2-3 towns in each of the states and prepare the template for them. And tell them that this is the requirement of funds for you, and this is how you can organize funding, raise resources. So that is one. Second thing is capacity building, ma'am. Yes, there is a need to have a municipal cadre. Karnataka has a municipal cadre, but again, maybe only at administrative level, not engineering level. We need at all level, finance, engineering, public health and all that. Till that happens, I don't know when it will happen. It may take maybe almost a decade to have municipal cadre in each of the municipalities, but in each of the states. To begin with, can you think of outsourcing this activity to some of the agencies, private or public, maybe IDFC, or that there could be Island FS, or there could be many other, or theory as far as environment and sustainability is concerned. If you can give this idea that, yes, for example, accounting, maybe they can hire a chartered accountancy firm to maintain their account and advise them, and maybe concurrent audit can be done. Because if they don't have the capacity to maintain their own accounts, maybe this accrual-based account or double entry system, maybe they can hire a chartered accountancy firm. And in almost every city now we have chartered accountants. So that could be for finance. Similarly, for engineering, they may be allowed to hire the consultants. And maybe at state level you can shortlist, like PPP cell in Ministry of Finance has done. Okay, these are the consultancy firms, you can hire them, and maybe they can even fix the fees. Otherwise, in tendering itself, the municipalities will be caught, because there may not be even capacity to tender and shortlist a consultant. So state level, there could be a short list of consultants, and maybe area-wise or region-wise, and then they may directly contact them and hire their services. And similarly, for other activities, we can have some shortlisted firms which can help the municipal bodies to even implement, or tendering of the work itself, or the supervision, third-party inspection. They may not have engineers, but engineering firms are there nowadays, so we can allow them to hire. So this is as far as capacity of municipal bodies is concerned, supplementing their capacity.
I just wanted to make a comment on what you the first point that you just made about city-level estimations of development needs. So on a separate project that we have, the Rockefeller project, where we're trying to understand climate change at the level of the city, There we've been working with 4 cities, and we've taken their development plans, city development plans as the base, and several other sources, and tried to cull together, various aspects, their coverage of infrastructure, what they've done so far, what their plans are, expenditure, income sources, all sorts of things, along with vulnerability. And what we've discovered is that JNREM did a very good job in trying to mandate the development of city development plans, which is a great first step. But there's such variation in the cities in terms of what they're doing with it, and even in terms of the preparation. Because we have Surat, for example, which has an excellent city development plan
That's
from...
a 5-year or 7-year plan. What CMD was talking about
was
is
20 years. But even that, where do you begin from?
Yeah, that's
So
a
I
good
think
starting point.
that, given the development funds that they will get from various sources, as well as funds they raise from other institutions, are going to be very important enablers in terms of what they're going to do. So this kind of plan-making capacity is extremely important to build, and to keep it, to make it public, which is a mechanism for accountability, but also for them an encouragement. So I think that's a great idea, and we would really encourage,
just share,
work with it.
I just heard, Mr. Balgar, what you were talking about the cities. And I can share one such example from Australian cities. The government in Australia went through the similar path. We looked at it, our CDPs or LEPs, we got local environment plans, development control plans, were working only in silos. There's not a connected picture and not a long-term view. In 2009, the government